and we are going to present our analysis on industry study based on the electricity retail business in Canada, with a specific focus on Direct Energy as a company and Ontario province. Firstly, I'd like to introduce my team. I'm Utsav, he's Nataraj, Shailesh, and Sushant. Now, before going into nitty-gritties of industry profile, the pains there, company profile, then further problem statement, our analysis, and finally recommendation, I'd like to introduce you to the electricity business value chain. Now, this was something new that we learned here, because in India we have government who does all the things in the energy sector. They are the ones who produce. They actually regulate the market and they control the entire business there. But in Canada, it's not like that. We are having power generation companies. The power generation companies are those who basically have nuclear power plants or coal plants, hydro plants. They generate electricity. Then the transmission companies take electricity from them and give it to distribution substations. When you are having now when the electricity reaches there, the distribution companies take that from there and deliver it to end users, which can be residential users, commercial or industrial users. So this is the entire value chain, in which the important aspect is retailers. Now retailers are one who buy energy in bulk from the generation companies and sell it to the end users. So they hedge energy by doing contracts with the generation businesses, and they have different product offerings for the end customers. Now in this entire business, Direct Energy right now is strategically placed as a retailer, and they also have some exposure in the power generation business. Also, we have an IESO, which is Independent System Operator in Ontario. The basic job of IESO is to forecast the future supply and demand of the region, and then to decide the spot price of the electricity that can be offered on a per hour basis. So they actually look after that job. Now moving ahead, I'll request Sushant to take you through the industry overview.
Thank you, sir. After understanding the electricity model here in Canada, we look at what industry is, what business is like. The Canadian electricity market has already grown 10.5% in 2007 to a value of $42.1 billion, which is approximately larger than what it was a couple of decades back. And the future for this seems good, positive. By 2012, it is expected to rise to a level of $59.5 billion, which is 41.2% up from the level of 2007. The accumulated growth rate for this period from 2007 to 12 is predicted to be 7.1%. Having known this model, that there is a positive future growth in the electricity sector, now let's look at the Ontario. The major electricity generation in Ontario is done by the nuclear power, which holds 52% of the total generation in the Ontario region itself. Now look at the top 5 forces for the retail business we have. Let's start with the threat of new entrants. First and foremost, retailing business involves understanding of price volatility. That is, they need to understand how the deregulated price is set by the government and how they have to hedge against the risk. For that, they need to have deep pockets. They have to have financial muscle power. Now coming to the threat of substitutes, products and services, one thing is for sure, that electricity is just flow of electrons. It's come from any of the generator, any of the supplier, it's be the same. So what is the threat? Threat is deregulation by the government. What I mean is, by this, it would be detrimental to retailers' business. There is a huge push towards green energy by government as well as by the consumers. Distributed generation of electricity by installing power plants by individual customers and businesses. What I mean by is the smart grid concept and the order generation. Now let's look at the bargaining power of suppliers. Now for a generator, whosoever it is, let's say nuclear power, it's not easy for him to start up or shut down the plant as and when required. It takes 5 to 6 days for a nuclear plant to start up. So it's not, it's less, the bargaining part is less for a nuclear plant as compared to the gas peaking plant. The product produced by the generators is same, not differentiated. Key inputs for the generation like coal, water and wind, which are available in the plenty, which acts as a raw material for all the generators. Now look at the bargaining power of buyers. The deregulation in market has increased the competition. There are as many as players that can fit in this market, and this deregulation has enhanced the buyer power. Any person can go to any supplier who offers a better contract rate. And this contract switching becomes important, as that depends on the contract. What kind of contract the person is. If a contract is 5 years, it's easy or difficult depending upon the contract for a customer to get out of it. Now let's look at the rivalry amongst existing competitors. Direct Energy as a retail business, it's spread all over the Canada. But among the 55 listed energy retailers in Ontario, the Universal Energy and Just Energy are the main competitors. The CAGR for Universal Energy is 35.43% for the financial year 2006 to 2008, and for the Just Energy, it is $1.7 billion for the revenue. Just now on July 1, 2009, Just Energy acquired Universal Energy, and after this post-acquisition, Direct Energy was still 4.5 times the total revenues of the combined entity. For the next, I'll ask Shailesh to continue with it. Thanks.
Direct Energy was formed in Toronto in 1986 and was acquired by Centrica in the year 2000. It is a 100% subsidiary of Centrica. Centrica has a revenue base of £21.3 billion and an operating profit of £1.94 billion in the year 2008. Direct Energy has a customer base of 4.5 million customers in Canada and over 400,000 customers in the Ontario province. It is also the largest retailer in the whole of Canada among residential users and the third largest industrial and commercial retailer. It operates in the upstream and downstream businesses such as the mass market. It supplies energy to the residential users in the mass market energy segment. Also, a large form of its revenues comes from supplying energy to the commercial and industry energy users. Direct Energy still has to explore the upstream and wholesale energy to a large extent, and it provides HVAC services to the home and business services. As you can see from this graph, a large chunk of the revenue streams for Direct Energy comes from the mass market energy. And even in the other streams, a large part of the revenues have really shot up in the year 2008. The revenues for Direct Energy is $10.5 billion, and it has substantially increased at a rate of 45.89% from the last year. Direct Energy has contributed 27% of its revenues to its parent company Centrica and has an operating profit of $388 million and a compounded annual growth rate of 21.4% since the last 2 years. We did a SWOT analysis of Direct Energy, but in the crux of the SWOT analysis, we came over the strength that Direct Energy has a very strong financial support from its parent company Centrica, which has a very large revenue base. It is also a well-integrated business and provides energy solutions in the market. One of the major weaknesses for Direct Energy is its asset-like approach in the retail business, where we will explain this much in detail in the later half of the presentation. Some of the opportunities that lie for Direct Energy in the near future is the demand for the green energy among consumers, and there is a high potential for generation that can complement the retailing business, as in they can come into contract with a lot of commercial and industrial users across Canada. Some of the threats of Direct Energy is that the re-regulation of the government that poses a big threat. In the past, this has been shown and companies suffered huge losses. Also, there can be a lot of climate and severe weather conditions that can pose huge losses for Direct Energy. Now I give it over to Natraj to explain the problem statement and details.
Thank you, Shailesh. A very good morning, everyone. Now, having understood the company profile and the industry profile, let us see what is the problem, what is the issue that we're trying to analyze in this study. Now, the problem statement that our industry expert asked us to analyze was that continuing to treat retailing as an asset-like business is that a sustainable strategy given the changing market dynamics. Now, what do you mean by asset-like business? Now, traditionally, Direct Energy had a strategy of only focusing on retailing segment and not focusing much on the generation segment. So basically, they never thought there could be a synergy between the retailing and the generation segment that in such a way that it could benefit the organization. given the deregulation that has taken place in Ontario, they always believe